Good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 253. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is Thursday, the 13th of the 7th of 2023. Yeah. And it's a Thursday. Good night, Krimak, bro. It's been a while. Good night over there on Instagram. I'm streaming live on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube. If you are looking at this on any one of those, be sure to hit that like button. Double tap that screen over there on TikTok. And if you are looking at this on repeat over on YouTube, yes, you looking at this again on YouTube, because there are quite a few of you, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment, tell me what you think. Share the video for those who would be interested in that kind of content. Of course, we have, as some people ask oftentimes, yes, we do have the Mindful merchandise that is for sale. The t-shirts are for sale. We have hats also, so you can contact us if you are interested in those. And Mindful Education, this is brought to you by Mindful Education. We currently have our Java educational camp running. You can sign up for any one of the weeks inside of the Java holidays. No, you don't have to say Java holidays. That's redundant. So inside of the Java, any one of the weeks, you could sign up for them. Head out to Mindful Education over there on Instagram, and you can follow us, subscribe to me over here on YouTube, and let's go. It's Thursday. It's Thursday, so it's Thursday Talks. What's going on TikTok? If you want to join, like, to talk, you have to be over on TikTok. That's the unfortunate thing. If you're over there on Instagram or over there on YouTube, the talk is actually on TikTok. We bias like that. Sorry. Jamie Ford says, went into Mount Hope Secondary recently. Let me see, I'm missing a piece of that. Went into Mount Hope Secondary recently, and I wouldn't send my dog there for a day. Yikes. Yikes. Oh, Kalimo. Yeah. The thing is, you see the difference. And that's why I was wondering again, with those school rules and with the hair and all of that, to head back a bit and rehash some of that what we already passed. I wonder, like, if you look at it, you see the difference in the schools, why would you go down a different line? But in the news, at least that I saw for the week, what it seems like is really in the mix is, it seems like the East-West corridor is on fire. I was looking, there are videos showing roving, and remember we were talking about this 2 days ago when we were talking about the crime situation. When you're having a music week, when it's needed, when enough people ask for it. But we do teach music, yes. Every Saturday we have ongoing music classes for anyone who is interested in that's piano, guitar, drums, bass. We do teach music also, by the way. But yes, and it continues on Saturdays. The crime situation. We were talking about this recently, where it seems like a lot of the criminality. I was saying that, the single hustler has lost his job. We no longer have the one alone hustler, the single criminal out there. It's all gangs. Everything is gangs. And then you're looking and you're seeing on cameras, people have home invasions with an 8-member team invading your home. A whole carload of 5 men running into you. This is some scary stuff. Then you're watching the firebombing over in Morva, and you're seeing a team of like 12 youth men with high-powered weapons just walking the streets like, this is some war zone. And you're thinking, how is this possible? That's a scary sight. It really is. Yo, Trini Hotep.
What's good, man? What I'm realizing with crime, like the thing is, organized crime is not a new thing, right? It's never that new. Organized crime been a thing for a long time. I mean, yeah. Mafia, mob, yakuza, yes. But what you tend to see in a country like Trinidad and Tobago that don't necessarily have like a mafia type stuff, right? What you tend to see is now the conglomeration of criminals, right? It's becoming an enterprise, like, you understand what I'm saying? People are building big businesses upon it. So when you say the lone gunman is no longer seen, is because they're realizing to allocate and to really reap some assets and rewards from this thing, they need to click up and get it really started into enterprise kind of thing. Whereas they're not going to make any money. Lone gunmen don't make that much money like organized criminals really make money.
And you know, as you're saying that, and I hear you said something about the deconglomeration, they scaled the business. Yes, they did. And organized crime not being a new thing in Trinidad and Tobago. And I was reading, they were talking about what is going on in Morva, and it's between one gang and another gang, and they were once friends, and the gangs are disintegrating, and the gang scene is changing. And I think that really does have a lot to do with it. The gang scene in Trinidad, the word for that, if you were to try to speak it in a business formal setting, we have a very dynamic gang scene here in Trinidad and Tobago. The gang scene, if you are a gangster in Trinidad in 2010, you went into a coma and came back out in 2020, the gang scene would have morphed. We have a morphing gang scene going on in Trinidad and Tobago. And the problem with a morphing gang scene is violence. When those things are constantly changing is when you see the violence like that. Like, the vast majority of murders in Trinidad and Tobago are, generally speaking, gang related. At least according to the statistics. Gang related. So it's an extremely violent scene. And I think that's because it isn't extremely unified. Like, the days of the one big don that controls most things is not there as much anymore. And that's why sometimes, you know, when I hear people talking about the big fish, and I heard a man on radio not too long ago saying that none of them black gangsters you hear them names, none of them are actually the real criminals. The real criminals are the 1%. And I'm like, I don't believe this. Because that's not actually how the entire world runs. Yes, there are higher ups in crime. Of course, there are higher ups. But individuals have agency, and criminality isn't all necessarily one perfectly connected network. You know, the whole honor among thieves business. So that's the landscape I think we have in Trinidad and Tobago. And then you throw in some corrupt police force into there. Mayhem. The big fish don't operate on the street level in Trinidad. Well, I don't think big fish in any context anywhere in the world, generally speaking, operate on the street level. And RL says, and the crime is not segregated. People getting robbed in Palmis and West Moorings. You know, as you say that, just a quick story to pull up there on that note. Where is this story? Bandit terror in Spring Village. Let's listen to this story a bit, right? This had to do with the Erla urge to act. Police Commissioner Erla Harewood Christopher has been called on to provide resources and ensure there are more patrols in St. Augustine, especially Spring Village, Valsane, which has come under siege as gangs of criminals are roaming the area, committing a spate of robberies and home invasions. St. Augustine MP said the commissioner must take note of the increase in criminal activities in the St. Augustine constituency and develop the necessary resources to prevent and deter such activities. But going down a bit, listen to what they said. Community members noted that this upsurge in criminal activity first took place in neighboring Real Spring, Valsane. That residential community took matters into its own hands, and the association hired private security and installed barriers and guard booths, which resulted in a major decrease in criminal activity. Spring Village residents lamented that not many of them can afford to hire private security, and the geographic layout of the village poses a challenge in locking down the area and installing barriers. So yeah, there is criminality happening all over, but the reality is, as criminality surges upwards, the increase will disproportionately affect those that could less afford to protect themselves. Like, many of those who are at the very top, for one, they might spend 5 months of the year not even in Trinidad in the first place. You run into their house and you're going to see an empty house, well, at least empty of people. You steal something from there, the insurance company might have it insured anyway, they replace it. That's not an endorsement to steal from people. That's not what I'm saying. I hope that's not what you're getting. But when criminality increases, criminals are generally opportunists. They will go for those with the easiest opportunity to steal from. As you see there, okay, they started in the more posh area of Valsine. They locked down their community and made it a much harder target. And what would you know? They went to the next community. And, this is one of the reasons why I talk about citizens being able to arm themselves at the end of the day. Because it seems pretty obvious. Criminals go at easier targets. I was looking at the video of the Spring Village incident, and these guys are walking the road 3 o'clock in the morning under the street light, walking the road. Listen, if this was Texas or Florida or some kind of place where they know people in their house had guns, you was never walking the middle of the street light lit road 3 o'clock in the morning looking to rob people. I'm like, these guys are brave, but they're that brave because they know there's no danger.
Good night, how you doing?
I'm good, man.
Right, a couple of things. One, crime in Trinidad is a distraction. While people who have the necessary resources go with the entire country and the entire economy. Crime only affects a certain set of people. Two, and the other side of that is that there will be no major downturn in crime because there is no detection, and where there is no detection and there is no consequence, people will feel free to do as they please. And thirdly, the creativity of the bandits and the ingenuity of the bandits and the thieves and the gunmen is way higher than police officers cannot even coordinate how to arrest somebody. So for me, we just beaten a dead horse because in order to have any impact on crime, the police service, whatever her name is, I don't even think she have the necessary competencies to lead the police service because she operated in a world that criminals that exist 1,000 years ago, and today's criminal is way more creative. The networks that they're using and how they're attacking and how they're dealing with people, they are getting prior information as where the police are and where the police are not, for them to move so freely. But again, who is me?
I see Kremak just now before you go, Trini Hotep, Kremak over on Instagram says, and the neighbors will protect them, and that is a factual part of it. And I think there are two, many factors to all of that, but two main factors I would think about before we go to Trini Hotep there, with the neighbors protecting them. One, the culture of crime that is cultivated in some communities, and that is extremely detrimental, and I spoke about that before, where when you look at some of these criminals, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons they could carry on like this and continue like that is because they have a community around them that welcomes them and accepts them in their criminality. When you hear somebody is wanted by the police and their name is plastered across the news, and they are found sleeping in a bed surrounded by a household of people, you understand, there are communities that shelter criminals, and this is a problem in a country because these communities are, as it were, warring factions inside of your country. They are at war with your country. They will send out their warriors on raiding parties to the other parts of the country, raid it like Vikings, and carry it back to their village. So that's like raiding hostile village inside of your country. So that's one part of it that you have to try to deal with, that culture. And I am not sure how much of that is trying to cajole and hold a sports day and hold a community, build a community. I think some of that is just kind of weeding it out to some extent. One. Two, there's the other side where if you are in a geographic location where criminality already has a stranglehold, and we live in a country where the protective service is well known to be infiltrated by criminal elements, it becomes extremely difficult to attempt to turn on the criminal elements that have control of your community. it seems like a suicide mission. So it's not necessarily that the neighbors are protecting the criminals. The neighbors are protecting themselves. They are keeping their heads down, as it were. And that is a known part in Trinidad and Tobago, especially with the corruption in the police service. That's a massive part of that. So people don't feel like they could get a protection in between them and the police and the criminals. The police service doesn't act like that. And I mean, when you look at the amount of murders that happen at midday, high traffic, you get the feeling like if somebody bad enough in Trinidad wants to kill me, there's nothing that the police would do to stop it or to catch the person. That's the feeling you could get. Good night, positive radiation. Trini Hotep. Roni say she going next, bro.
I will go after him. Well, I shortened his name to who? That's crazy. that's how we shortened how the name right there. But I'm really strained to believe this is a distraction, and I'm also strained to believe that some points that the room said, because the thing, like ability, you see, to me criminality, it has never really innovated in the past. How many years criminals have been acting, right? I think it gets hard. It only looks like the criminals are really on top of their game because of the top-down corruption, right? The corruption is not from the bottom up; it's from the top down. And when you could have, let's say this for instance, when you could have, let's say Hell's Kitchen in New York City, Hell's Kitchen area, right? And you have an Italian mafia operating in Hell's Kitchen, and they have now locked down the community, and the community is paying protection money to protect themselves from other criminals. So now the Italian mafia of Hell's Kitchen have locked down the community and the people, gaining their trust and also strong-arming them. Now, the Italian mafia of Hell's Kitchen now have police in their pockets, as they usually do. Of course, now you have your corrupt police officers that are willing to aid and abet in criminal activity. And now you have your politicians who are also in the pockets of criminals, and the politicians who want to make a bang for their buck on the fact that the communities dive in hell deeps into criminality. Of course, that's how the thing really goes. You understand what I'm saying? Criminals are already on the top of their game, and they're innovative. They're just doing anything. They're just doing this, seizing all the opportunities of where the corruption is taking place at its most highest, and just capitalizing off of that. You understand what I'm saying? That's basically what they do.
And watch this, right before you go there, Rooney. As you're saying, the criminals not necessarily on the top of their game and changing. I understand what you're saying in terms of generally speaking, criminality is what criminality has been, and criminality works because of help for the most part. It's not that the criminals are so skilled, it's that they have help. Just to sidetrack that, I usually say that about players. Like, I've recognized that as I got older. I always used to think like players must be really skilled, but most players are helped by the people who play them. So most criminals are helped by the people who are supposed to stop them. But onward from that, there is some advancement, it seems, in some of the criminality. And it could be, again, because of the position we put ourselves in. Listen to this. Judiciary's digital systems down a week after cyber attack on AG's office. Critical operations at the judiciary appear to have crashed because of a disruption to its digital services, and judges are not certain if court hearings can take place for the remainder of the week. Listen, we are a country where court cases are already 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years in delay, and court cases for the rest of the week may be out. It is a complete blackout. We have not been told what is happening or how we should proceed, said one source. And listen, that's scary, eh? Beside it falling out, not knowing anything that happens makes it seem worse. Just before 11 a.m. yesterday, staff at the judiciary were told they would not be able to access their official email or their calendars until further notice. Virtual court hearings after that time were affected. Attorneys said they could not file documents related to court matters. The judiciary had adopted an online filing system during the pandemic. This was unavailable up to late Wednesday. The judiciary's website was also unavailable, and emails are being returned with an error message. This makes me wonder if anything in there has been compromised too, beside just being unable to access it on their side. You wonder if there has been any kind of compromise inside there, if people have been able to see files that should not have been seen by other people. I am quite certain that there may be some kind of sensitive information inside of that entire judiciary filing system. In-person trials were not affected. At a hearing at San Fernando High Court, one judge commented on the issue because the system could not be accessed to provide adjournment dates for cases. The court's physical diary had to be used to identify rescheduled dates. The Law Association was also told of the disruption. Attorneys were contacted by WhatsApp and told of the adjournment of their cases. The court's operating systems are non-functional, and we have no access to any of the needed material or information to facilitate a virtual hearing or even to generate a link. The judge keeps a physical diary, and we were able to ascertain the matters which were listed for hearing. Attorneys were asked to contact their counterparts on the other side to relay the messages from the courts. Justice Frank C. Prasad said at a hearing that his staff was unable to access any information as there was absolutely no access to any of the operating system. He described the situation as a crisis. The nation's courts cannot function, and this is simply untenable. Yikes.
Well, let me just respond to what the gentleman said, that crime in Trinidad has not been innovated, right? If you look at the issues that happen in East Port of Spain, these two gentlemen is considered to be in bias, but is able to coordinate large hits on different level of the family members who are not known to the public. They are able to coordinate an entire gang from behind bars, and you can tell me that's not innovation. You see, we will like to look at it at crime as a static thing, and it's not developing, and that's what's happening with the police service. They feel that criminals that was back in this day. What's this man name who used to run down people with popcorn and shoot them again? What's his name? The commissioner of police.
Randall Burrows.
And if some people like to bring back an ex-Burrows. No, the criminal today, we need to accept that they are quite sophisticated in their ways, and whether we choose to accept it or not, because they know exactly who don't have, which car to take. Imagine in the middle of San Juan, to assassinate somebody in the middle of San Juan and plan the route to get out of San Juan with that level of high traffic in the middle of the day. It takes a very high level of coordination, logistic management, and pre-planning in order to execute something like that. That didn't happen by chance or per se.
Yep. Ronnie, you're next there. RL, that is the point I always see. Many people have the misconception that all of the ghetto youths are still poor, struggling ghetto youths. Listen, the majority of the street thugs, they might be on the struggling side, but there are many of them that are not. You go see some of their homes and you recognize, listen, these guys aren't faking the money. They genuinely have a lot of capital passing through. Yeah, Ronnie?
I was basically going on comments on the distraction point that had made, but put up already, touch on it a little bit. So, but I just wanted to add, even if it is a distraction, it is affecting me, right? Which is the problem. If something is directly affecting me, I cannot say, well, I know it's a distraction, so let me look at what they're trying to distract me from. I can't. I have to pay attention to what is affecting me at the point in time. So until we could kind of sort out what happened, with persons, with especially poorer persons, because as you see, the rich people will just hire security to get, well, a lot of them, when they apply for their firearm, they're getting through. So, it kind of is definitely a poor people problem. Also, one thing I wanted to talk about with the community gaining the community trust, like a lot of these, like a few years ago, probably I haven't heard about it in a while, but a few years ago, like when they used to go in town and raid businesses and things, they weren't doing it for themselves. They were doing it and they would just go back home wherever they live and hand it out and put that the community protect them, which is stupidness to me. But if you live there and that's what you're accustomed to, you'll protect them too. Stupidness for me.
And I think it's stupidness in general, because it as I see, and it's not like I created that, as it seems to me like the evidence proves, crime causes poverty more than poverty causes crime. And when you endorse that kind of action in your community, you endorse that kind of criminality in your community, you lock your community into cycles of poverty. You create a glass ceiling. Well, it isn't even glass. It's probably more like lead. You create a lead ceiling over your community. You could only go that far. While if my community has no crime, and I have a home that my father worked for, and I still live in this community, at least I know I could save up a little bit and try and open a little business downstairs my father's home, and people from outside, I could advertise my business on Facebook, and people on Facebook wouldn't feel scared to come and visit my business at my home. Now, you endorse that criminality. Now, your community has a blight. So, I mean, yeah, you could say that you can get some benefit from it, but in the long run, it is not that kind of beneficial. You won't give up a man that don't distress you. Just before you go, I am not giving them credit, Mr. I'm not giving them credit. But to me, I think we have to be real. And there is a lot of money in that world. There is genuinely a lot of money. There's a high turnover for a lot of those guys. And that's why they are in it. That's why so many people are dying. That's why they're killing people at such a rate, because there is a lot of money involved. Genuinely a lot of money. Now, it's not like all of them are going to spend it wisely, but still, it's a lot of money passing through.
Let me say a couple of things. You see, the gentleman who we are giving them a lot of credit. They are killing each other for a matter of respect and disrespect, right? But we don't analyze situation properly and understand the logistics and how they put things together and how they are actually thinking. It's impossible to put a dent in crime, because it's not giving them credit. It's analyzing the situation and stating it as it is so that you can find out a possible solution. My other point is this. There are crimes happening in all different communities, but we are the only community involved in high violent crime and killing each other. That's why I'm saying, and black communities, I'm being quite frank here now, black communities have the highest number of violent crime. And because of that, they also have the highest number of police attention in terms of, for example, there's a white collar squad that's in the police service, and it's probably undermanned because nobody cares about white collar crime, because violent homicide is taking up almost 90% of the East Division, the Northern Division, and everybody else is free now to pursue their own life of crime, while there's a great focus on the black community that is only killing each other for pretense, while everybody else is free to commit crime. And whether we pay attention to that or not, that's a fact.
Here's the thing though, Room. I consider that an insult to the black community in and of itself. That's telling me that the black community is too foolish to realize that they are being pawns. You're telling me that, okay, you want to be a criminal. If you want to be a criminal, you're going to be the kind of criminal that is always caught. That's the one you're going to be. You're going to be that one. Like, sir, go run a racket. At least. No, don't go run a racket. Just by the way, I'm not endorsing racket, but I mean.
Look at the facts. The only person, the guy who was the military guy who was running the pyramid scheme, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Look how fast it take him out of that world. And all Syrians and Port of Spain run a susu and support each other business.
Just by the way, Room, the man is still, by his own words, a successful businessman, just by the way. So, even still, he is a free man walking the streets with visible wealth from multiple businesses. You could question how it came about, but that still seems to make more sense than running down each other with AR-15s down the road.
The point I'm making
And
is this.
Mr. I know the average age is probably teens. I'm not doubting that. And I'm not saying that the shooters themselves are rich. I am saying that a lot of capital flows through that industry. There's a lot of money flowing through. Yeah, Room.
The point that I'm making is look at the concentrated effort to put him back in his place.
But he was essentially he was robbing poor people. Come on, because even before, which is why I say they should not have bust the man susu. They should have leave his susu because it was already crumbling.
Listen.
Then you know what happened? People would have started to kill each other.
Rooney, let me show you some things on that. Let me show you some things on that. For one, people were getting too excited with the thing. First off, as Rooney was rightfully mentioning, I don't think I will champion someone's cause as a liberator for a community when they were basically running a scheme on the community for the most part. I wouldn't say that they are a liberator. But I don't think the reason that garnered so much attention was just because he was a black man. I think it had something to do with the fact that every day there were multiple viral posts pushing this thing. And then people started to clamor online, do something about this, do something about this. Look, a scheme going on and the government not doing anything. That's what went on. Instead of you play a hand and get your flowers and hush your mouth, you had to go and advertise on Facebook. Hey, getting back 10,000 for the first 1,000. First 9 people to message me. Come in. Listen. That's not because you're black. That's because you're attention seeking. It's like if you're a criminal and you overlay yourself in gold. You coat yourself in gold and wearing Prada and driving a Benz with on 20-inch rims and music banging. Of course, you're going to garner more attention to yourself than the criminal who, he decides that, I'm going to act like a normal person. He opens a nice, neat grocery and he goes, you all never watch Breaking Bad? Good old Gus Fring? Or you never watch American Gangster? What he was attempting to do that kind of thing. I don't blame racism on that. Bro, it was a black prime minister with a mostly black police service. It's not racism.
You really can call that a kind of thing. The thing is this. As you say many times, Nathan, the thing is this: violent crime takes center stage because it's violent crime. That's really what it is, right? I don't think nobody give a hell's damn about the business down the road that money laundering millions of dollars. They could care less about that. You understand what I'm saying? Right now, the focus is the death of people, and that's fine. To me, that's fine.
And I'm telling you, the death of people is even in New York, right? And even in Singapore. In order for them to start dealing with violent crime, they had to deal with petty crime. Littering, spitting on the street. And because there's great evidence to show scientifically a country or a city that enforces these small crimes and people see their consequences, there's a greater decrease in bigger crimes. And so we could focus and we could continue to throw dust in the wind at violent crime. I'm telling you, violent crime is not going to go down. Don't deal with the different aspects of crime.
Just before you go out, I'm sorry to cut you again, bro, but just before you go to Trini Ho, I agree with you, Rome. I agree with you, but I think money laundering is on the other side of that. You're talking about broken windows policy. Broken windows policy means what the police need to do is go into Morva, and anyone who is loitering, arrest them. Anyone who is littering, arrest them. Children who are, and we call them children, so all those 16, 17-year-olds who are on the street, send them home. And the adults that are in gangs, you arrest them on suspicion of being in gangs. That's what you're supposed to do. From that bottom, go up. But I could tell you just now, what happens very often when that happens, claims of racism are raised very quickly. Because in the United States, in New York, the city you called, when they started doing the broken windows policy, lots of those black youth that were loitering on the corner, who didn't do nothing and who were good boys and he never do nothing, were the ones that get picked up. Because they were the ones that eventually led to the violent crime. That's the harsh reality of it. So even if we go with the broken windows policy, that's still not aiming at money laundering. Firstly, I am not saying money laundering is not an important crime, but bear in mind, money laundering is an extremely wide crime. In Trinidad and Tobago, if I lend you money and you pay me back with interest, I money laundered, you know. That's under money laundering. The same guy you were talking about who had the susu, he spoke to me, him and I spoke. And he was talking about when they actually arrested him, and they arrested him on money laundering charges, and they made it seem like it had anything to do with DSS. You know, he was never charged for anything to do with that. They seized the money, but they never charged him. That money laundering charge was a vague charge because they caught him with some money that he lent somebody and they paid him back interest or something, and he was working as a money lender without a money lender's license or something like that. And it was small money, like 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that. That's the money laundering charge. So I don't think the focus is money laundering. I think the focus would be loitering.
Even if the focus is loitering, we have a broken judiciary system. The systems in Trinidad is pure failure because look, the judiciary's legal system gone down and they don't have a backup to bring it back in. And nobody understands. Like, even when you crimes house, people have been sitting in Raymond Yard for 14, 15, 20 years waiting for and these things contribute to crime because one I go in jail for, let me say, weed. Mm-hmm. And I get to be schooled by hardened criminals. So when I come back outside, I have a master's in criminality.
Correct.
So we have a system that makes no sense, and people don't understand. Because I'm a business owner, and I am telling you that crime affects your business not just in a theoretical way, in a very real way. Yeah. And anybody who wants to deal with crime in Trinidad and Tobago, it don't start with LaFontaine. It starts with the judiciary. It starts with getting things done through the system. Because the whole somebody, of them are put for 18 months, and then Ramesh Lawrence Mirage take them to court and file a constitutional motion to get money from the state, and so now they have more money to pump into the criminal activity, and then come back out and the same cycle start with shit all over again.
Yeah, so, you see, I agree with that. for me. There has to be a priority system upon this thing, right? It really has to be, right? Like, fine, if a community police service is surveying the area and there's laws against littering and loitering, fine, do your thing, bro. But when we talking about a general police service trying to like do law enforcement, we have to particularly prioritize certain things. If the crime rate is out of control and ridiculous, I can study money laundering guys with big businesses on the block. I don't care about them. I care about the people of Trinidad and Tobago being safe from home invasions. Because the person who get home invaded not thinking about, oh my god, boy, that man really money laundering, but he just killing people. No, when I lie down in my bed, I'm not thinking about no big high time person money laundering and running. Well, I care about the man running guns, but like, I don't care about the other people that doing these white collar crimes. To hell with them. Like, if we're focusing on the corruption of high ranking officials, fine, because they contribute to the criminal activity one way or the other, indirectly or directly. That's just the facts. So if we're focusing on prioritizing killing corruption, that's one. But we can't focus on white collar crime as the means to stop violent crime. No. That's not how we doing this.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with what you're saying there, Room, in terms of starting with the judiciary in Trinidad and Tobago, because I made this point several times in some of the heated discussions we had with some police officers in the live and stuff. I made the point that I could see this. I look around in Trinidad and I could see this. Nearly everybody you know that is called a bad man, that is called a known criminal, has been to jail, has an outstanding case in court, and is probably out on bail. Nearly all of them. So what that tells you is that at some point in time, the police did their work, arrested this person, charged them, but up until the moment, the judiciary has yet to sort that out. So that kind of has already left the police's hands in some way. And then if you look at it from a police service point of view, if I arrest this man, charge him, he goes to jail, comes back out on bail, and this keeps happening over and over and over. After a point in time, tell me that doesn't kind of encourage a kind of despondent corruption. Like, okay, he's going to be back out anyhow. I might as well take the bribe and leave him there because it's the same consequence, and at least I get something out of it. And I could see it encouraging a kind of despondence in the police service. I'm not blind to that fact, and I could see that. And that seems like a problem in the judiciary. And when I hear the DPP speak about this, and that they are lacking at minimum 50 additional prosecutors, and I'm wondering, does Trinidad not train enough lawyers? This seems like a problem that should not be that difficult to solve. But the man has been saying that for at least 4 years now, and up until this moment, we still see a similar thing. Moving a little different from crime. If you have something on crime, don't worry, you could get back there. But something I noted. I remember the Ministry of Education was saying that they're not going to release the essay results and the top 100 results because they don't want that kind of competition, and they don't like the unhealthy thing it did, and they found that it was bad for the students and all of that. And many parents were saying, no, still release it. Some organizations were saying, no, still release it. Well, one organization went ahead and released their own top 100 list. Mahasaba awards 100 SEA students. The Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha yesterday celebrated the academic achievements of more than 100 students who wrote the 2023 secondary entrance assessment exam. Hosting the award ceremony at the Lakshmi Girls Hindu College, St. Augustine, officials claimed while all the schools under their ambit have continued to produce excellent results, this year's results had been the best for the past 10 years. The top 3 students out of the 43 SDMS primary schools were also honored. All awardees were presented with a trophy and certificate of achievement. So, tell me this. An organization that treats education like this. Hey, Kremak, I see you join, bro. an organization that treats education like this, wants to celebrate it, award the top performers, encourage top performance, versus an organization like the ministry that thinks that no, we shouldn't release this. It may hurt some people's feelings to let the people who perform top know that they perform top. Where do you think better results would come from?
The competitive schools.
And look at which organization did that. You were just talking about the reality of demographics and crime, etc., etc., etc. Let's talk reality. It's the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha School Organization. While if we were to have an organization for the Afro-Trinis, while the Afro-Trinis for the last 2 weeks were arguing to get whichever hairstyle they want in school, you understand how this looks?
It does, and that's why it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I cringe at this. I very much cringe because me being me, right? Me being me. I know black people could excel. I know black people could be the best. You understand what I'm saying? So I cringe at this notion of, well, stop trying to do competition, give everybody participation trophies for just being there and sign up there. That's ridiculous. You see, that's why I regularly say other communities do better because they afford certain things. And when I say that, I'm immediately labeled, I'm a coon. I can't do that. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Why you want to do model minority nonsense? And I'm here like, no. Because black people didn't start out being dumb or dunce or dummies. No. Black people were smart. Black people still smart. But the fact that you all no longer afford certain things within your own communities tells you something. The way how you speak today tells you something. And the way how other communities talk, they tell you something. You can't be mad at the Asian community for doing what they do, and the Asian community being all Asian people, including Indian people. So it's like, you can't be mad at them. Just do the work.
The point I was making, Ronnie, to remake the point, as you said you missed the point, I was speaking about the fact that the Mahasabha had an award ceremony for their top 100 students after the Ministry of Education refused to publish the top 100 list. The Mahasabha went ahead and published their own for their own top 100 students and awarded the top 3 students. And I was we were talking previously about demographics, etc., and the performance and all of that. And look at which group did that, and tell me where do you think you're going to get better results. And just right before you jump in their room, to add a bit to this story, a little bit added to this story, mom of top SEA performer urges parents not to stress students. By the way, just by doing this, the Mahasabha organization got 2 headline articles in a newspaper with their students recognized by name inside there for this, while the ministry still hasn't published anything because it might hurt someone's feelings. Okay. We listen to the mother's point, Ariel. Listen to the mother's point. Don't push your children, else you may push them off a cliff. Profound words from Candice Jaipal, the mother of 12-year-old Tyler Ramneris, who was named the top 2023 secondary entrance assessment student by the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha. And she went on to talk about he didn't even do any extra lessons. They didn't push him too hard. And he spoke about, he thanks his parents and his teachers and all that they did, etc., etc. Listen to the end of this. Having passed for Presentation College Shogunas, Ramneris said he hopes to excel in sciences. Meanwhile, Jaipal, his mother, who quit her job at Toyota to become a full-time mother, said it was important to always be supportive of children and not try to choose their career for them. And she was talking about she didn't need to stress her child too much, and there wasn't need for extra lessons and all of that. And when I reached to the end of the article, and I was like, I see why. And
she was the extra lessons.
And again, if you look at demographics and you look at some of the people who argue the most when you try to make this point?
Well, I guess each community celebrate what is important to them and what they hold forefront, right? And I guess the a particular community find strength in their hair, so they're going to argue about and create a whole informal organization to argue about hairstyles should change. But don't worry about the quality of education when the children getting low, because that's not necessary. The hair is going to be successful and create inventions into the future. And these are the things that irks me with a particular community, because we tend to focus on not celebrating excellence. And I'm talking about true excellence, because most times, almost 95.99 into the 100 percentile, children who are recognized and given degrees and scholarships tend to go on to do great things with their life. And each community tend to take care of their kinship future. Like the Mahasabha represent a particular group of people, and they will keep their group of people tied together. They will put them in a certain direction. They will put them in a certain doctor, lawyer, nurse, and particular fields to have say in society, to contribute to society in a meaningful way. While the other group of people, CPEP, but you see, nobody's willing to have the hard conversation and say the hard thing, because you know what? Somebody might get offended.
Just now, Trini Miko over on Instagram, he is over on the TikTok live, so he isn't seeing everything you say. Trini Miko says over on Instagram, whoa, the privilege required for her to be in that position is no joke. First up, I disagree 100% with that. That comes from a modernist kind of speaking that is speaking ignorantly. It's not privilege for the mother to decide to stay home to see about the child. That is, you're assuming that they must be a wealthy family. There have been many families that have done that were not even near to being the wealthiest. As I've said before in this life, my mother did the same, and we were not the richest family out there. She went on Rome, I suppose, speaking about you. She wanted to know who is a particular community. Speak plainly, and he said it. He said it before. If you were listening a little earlier, he was speaking pretty clearly about who it was before.
Let me respond to her question by the young lady who decided to stay home to be a stay-at-home wife and make sure that her children were successful at school. Even if she is privileged, the spouse she chooses to be in a relationship with allow her that privilege. Because we have to be careful. And nobody's willing to go down into details of having this conversation. Because even how they are brought up to be in a relationship, and what is expected of her in a relationship, for someone to choose her to be in a relationship, and for she to choose one to be in that relationship, don't complain that is generational choices. That they have put themselves in that position to have granny, auntie, nene, and a community to support them. Everybody lives in community except us people.
I see him as saying, wasn't the Betham community ridiculed for celebrating the young lawyer? And I remember that, and I mean, people talk. Somebody ridiculing you for doing what you think is a sensible thing, it should not make you stop doing it. I remember that, and I found that distasteful. I found that unnecessary. I could see the point that the businessman was trying to make, as in, this isn't supposed to be something so unique that you have to celebrate it. Okay, it isn't supposed to be, but it is. So celebrate it, people. Like, grand. It would be beautiful if you get 50 scholars every year just falling and rolling out of the community. But if it hasn't reached that stage yet, and one is an improvement, by all means celebrate it. Don't let people knock you on your small victories, because you have to have the small victories before the larger one. I found that ridiculous, and I don't think that, for one, I don't actually think that affected Betham celebrating their own homegrown son, because they still celebrated him. And either way, he won a couple 100,000 right after that from the government. So I think he is celebrating in style all now. Trinimiko says the speaker understands exactly what I mean. You don't have to be wealthy to be in possession of some privilege, but okay. Yes, I understand exactly what you mean, but I don't know if you are trying to say that I am in possession of that same privilege that you are trying to say they had. But I like there are all kinds of privilege. I agree. In order to very likely be a stay-at-home mother, very likely you have to have the privilege of being in at least a nuclear family, and probably better yet, an extended family. Yeah, that's a privilege. I agree. But that's a privilege where your choice has some factor inside there.
Great.
Little Miss Mediator says, I just want to point out my school had a black Jesus in a dashiki and afro, and students excelling, majority black girls as well. I don't have a problem with that. If you excelling with your black Jesus in a dashiki, by all means you go ahead. I don't think that was where my criticism was. Hey, yes, that's the thing right there, generational choices. Yeah, generational choices is a big thing. Yeah, Roni, go ahead.
Okay, just the Instagram person who is making the point of privilege, right? I get where they want to head to, but a privilege that I don't like to do the we and the I and the a privilege that the community tends to overlook, and it tends to basically cheat itself on, is having children out of wedlock. From the time you start to, you cannot even look at that privilege. It have no privilege in that, because most times, especially in the community you look, it tends to always have multiples, right? And when you have that problem, you cannot in any way be any kind of stay-at-home nothing. You might have to go and find 2 and 3 jobs, right? So choices also lead to your privilege. We don't have to be, as I say, for me, I personally, all you know, I come and I fight my fight. Stay-at-home mother is the way to go. I had my whole presentation, all you missed it, hard lucks. Go back on the YouTube, you might find it. I make a whole, you know. But I believe the best thing for children is to have a stay-at-home mother. I have a friend who is a stay-at-home mother now, granted. She is totally, like, when I tell you exception, like, 0.00001 exception. She had children before she met the man. She had children with the man who she wasn't married to. But the man who she had the second set of children with, he did not want her to work. He wanted her to stay home with her children. And because he decided that, he was able to look after all of her children. But again, that's not happening soon. So men have to make better choices. One, try and stay away from men who might get a life cut off short. Try and get married. Try not to have too much fun outside. You understand? It's not hard. But but really it might be lonely, but it is not that difficult.
Trinimiko says black people's tendency to speak pathologically about other black people. It's a little concerning. The hairs on my neck stand up when we compare our community to others, as though we really can't speak about everyone's experience. Trinimiko,
That doesn't.
I know, Trini Hotep, I know. Trinimiko.
And I'm not too myself on that.
Trinimiko, I think what we need, as Rooney says, the we part in that. I belong to a community of my own crafting for that and my family. But okay, I go and I see Ali able with me. Trinimiko, oh, we are very able. Oh, we are very able. Where are you going? I would prefer if you came across on TikTok. We would enjoy that conversation. I would really enjoy that conversation. I would. This is a topic that we do talk about, and I enjoy speaking about it. As though the black community as some people call it, should not speak so negatively about itself. We should not be critical. But then you look at the choices in the community and you see that the choices are bad choices, and you see bad choices leading to bad consequences. So wait, the criticisms should not be on the bad choices just because someone shares a common genetic heritage with you. Does that really make sense?
But my point, Nathan, that we should be able to look at our community critically and where we are and ask critical questions of community and then answer those questions in terms of 15 to 14 years down, where do we want our community to be and where we do, and how we want our community to look. Because other communities, whether we choose to admit it or not, they have the Chinese Association, they might have a Saba, the University and Taylor Association, everybody have association and planning for their community. And very concerning that every time Black people have a critical conversation and at themselves, analytically, and the children here what we ask the people, what we need somebody, some kind of psychological issue about that's all it is.
I know that.
Like we went to some university and they do Psych 101 and they learn a new word that makes them a fool.
No, this thing about we can't critique our own community because that's bad, that's evil, that's the white man, that's white supremacy. This is ridiculous, man. Listen, I go on social media every day, talk to Black people on the other side of the world about similar problems and issues and how we could fix similar problems and issues, and they're telling me about how dare you speak about Black problems. It's ridiculous. If you can't critique your own community, then who can you critique? You can't keep critiquing the white man. He does what he does. That's fine. But how can we fix our own problems that we create? Well, we can't do it because we can't critique. That doesn't make any sense. Please stop it. Oh my goodness. I don't understand. Like, how are we to get better? How are we to redefine what it is to be this community that we so treasure and this culture? This ridiculousness needs to stop. Yeah. Guys. This community is having a sort of cultural rot, and it needs to stop. At some point, we need to get back to where we was.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the people who are dying, there's no other community. So no other community has to take critical and drastic action as the Black community. All other communities, children are receiving awards for scholarships and being sent abroad to study to come back to have an influential part to play in society, while our young Black children is going to end up robbing somebody and running into the police.
You know, I think some of the problem for this starts in the, and I know you're using that for ease of communication, but in seeing things as the white man and the Black man, as if the white man is one person and the Black man is one person. Listen, they are people. And if you so happen to be of a... Hey, Miko! Is that Trini Miko from over on IG? I like it.
Come true.
I like it.
Come true. Step up to the plate, man.
I like it, Miko. I like it. Welcome. And I think some of the problem starts in seeing things in that not individualistic way, in that communistic kind of way, where you're seeing things as a collectivist, as the Black community is one monolithic unit, and the white community is one monolithic unit. And I think that's where a lot of problems start. So if you look at many studies, one of the groups with the most in-group bias is the Black community. Strange enough. As in, Black people have sometimes the most automatic feeling of kinship to other black people, more than many other races. So two Asian families may move in on the same street and they're more linked to their Asian family from 2 states over, 2 countries over, than to each other just because they're Asian. And it's not necessarily the same with the black community. And I think some of that is why you see, and give me a break now, yeah? I am diametrically opposed to the anti-intellectual argument that people are too psychological. Yeah. That's why you see when many times over, all over the world, people talk about the black culture and the black culture. And I was speaking about this even the last 2 weeks when we were looking at the Trinity here situation. And people were talking about this like black culture, African culture. It was American black hip-hop culture, hairstyles. As I said many times, these boys were not rocking Bantu nuts. They were not going back to Songhai and Mali-like hairstyles of Western Africa or of Sub-Saharan Africa. That wasn't the hairstyles they were rocking. They were rocking hip-hop, shave-off piece, plait inner electric hairstyle. And yeah, I know there may be somebody who may attempt to link that to a link, beyond the link, behind God back with another link, back to our old ancient African hairstyle in one tribe in a corner of Ohioho. But we know where they learned it from. Black American hip-hop culture. And then all over the world, you look at the urban black culture and it's black American hip-hop culture, because it seems like black people have this so high affinity that they think this is our culture. I have said this for a while now. Before I was online, this is something that I said. A lot of people that consider themselves being part of a black community have held on to a toxic culture, a poisonous culture, as Trini Hotep rightfully said too, and Rome pointed out, and called it theirs. This is mine. My culture means that I must twerk on every inanimate object I see. And I must pretend that twerking is some special spiritual connection dance back to the ancestors. I saw some girl on Twitter saying that the melanin reverberates high energy. Listen, the BS is too much. The melanin reverberates high energy, and as black women, they can't retain the high energy, so it just releases in a compulsive listen, these people are serious about this nonsense. You adopt a culture. You adopt a culture. You go over to Ethiopia, African people. And you look at the African Ethiopian Orthodox, and those people barely sway side to side. Somehow their melanin doesn't reverberate with that same high vibration energy that compulses a twerk.
Speaking about, what is Miko talking about? Culture is fluid and personal. No. I don't think people understand what is culture. No.
Why don't you?
No. You see, I regularly talk about culture a lot. Culture, to even have a culture of a group of people, the people have to agree on certain things for things to be a culture. I hope people understand what culture is. Like, if I was to say Japanese people have a culture, it's not an individual Japanese person. It's the Japanese people. So if I was to say, a certain ethnic black group has a culture, that's their culture. It's not fluid and personal. Twerking is not a culture. Twerking has never developed in Africa. Now, if you're talking about certain tribal dances in Africa, certain tribal dances in Africa is different from what women twerk too. Twerking is a stripper club culture. That's where twerking comes from. Exactly. It's a stripper culture. So twerking has something to do with Africa. Culture is not fluid like that per se, and culture is not personal and individual. Culture is a group thing. Culture is a semi-monolithic thing. That's how culture arises from groups of people. Culture. Why people think fluid and personal when you want to do nonsense and degeneracy. and then link it up. And then when it's time to do degenerate behavior, they'll link it to black people. Ridiculous. Stop telling me this nonsense. I have to walk around with my high melanin tone. Don't do this to me now, please. I beg you.
Well, I mean, this gender could be fluid. Why not culture?
Agenda is a personal thing of expression of self. Culture isn't. Culture is the accepted norm of the majority of the people being expressed.
Yeah. Miko, I this is classist stuff. What? Miko, I find you throwing out buzzwords there. You know, you could join and talk, eh? But I find you throwing out a lot of buzzwords there. How could culture be individual and personal and fluid? That is literally, by definition, not culture.
Not culture.
You talk about that psychological experience, but he failed psychology.
What?
This is why Rooney's telling me my voice is not bedding tonight, because I have to raise it so high. Classes? What is classes about culture? What did I say? What was classes? You know, everybody participates in culture, right? From a rich person to a low class person participates in culture. Nigerians have a culture, from as rich as the president to as low as the man in the backyard place with the hut. So what are we talking about? Please stop it. Don't do me that.
I don't know why you can't. I don't know, Miko. Miko, I don't know what's going on. I not seen the ad. You probably know join or something. I don't know.
RL. Yes, my culture is that of a melting pot of Trinidadian people, right? That's facts. That's just facts of life.
The thing is,
Tobago, right?
you could belong to multiple that's why I understand culture is a grouping. It's a grouping behavior. So you could belong to a Caribbean culture where there are certain commonalities among Caribbean people, where you could look at a video from a Jamaican guy and you're like, yeah, I know that because you have that Caribbean cultural link. But there is some similarity in a black cultural link, global to some extent, and you have that cultural supremacy of the United States, where a lot of what is considered global black culture is kind of, as I said, American hip-hop black culture. And then different African countries have cultures. There are cultures, there are subcultures. There is a subculture that is the Zessa culture. There are subcultures and cultures that you could belong to, yes. But I don't get the classism necessarily here. What is the classism that listen, here's what I will say without apology. There are some behaviors that give better outcomes than others. And there are some cultures that hold on to some behaviors that give worse outcomes. I am not a cultural relativist. I don't believe all cultures are equal. I think there are some cultures that sacrifice their children, and I think that's horrible, evil, and insane. I have no apology for that. Yes, that was their culture, but I think it was worse, and I think ours is better. So I don't buy into it being classist to say that because some people call something their culture, and I say it creates bad outcomes. I don't think that's classist. I think that's just being factual.
No, that's just ridiculous, Nathan. Like, what is we going to say? Oh, yes, let the black woman twerk on top slave castles in Ghana because that's cultural fluidity and that's personal. That's disrespectful and downright degeneracy. And if you want to tell me that's classist, then you believe that black people are classless, and I would take that as a high disrespect as being a black person. Oh my goodness.
Well,
yes,
you know the quote. I was going to say this quote earlier, Trini Hotep, a quote I shared on Twitter from the good old Orwell. There are some ideas so ridiculous that it would take only intellectuals to believe them. And you tend to see that. I I mean, you may really have done your PhD in cultural history. I'm shocked that you think dancing means degeneracy because you don't enjoy it. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. And the thing is, Miko, by your definition, nothing could be degeneracy. What is degeneracy by your definition, Miko? I really would like you to join, with the
People, so let me heed us out to the gaslight.
It's not a troll in a room. It's not a troll. It's a liberal left-leaning mindset. Let's be real about it. When you get your degree in cultural history, I just know you have went to HBCU that is full of liberal teachers. Tell me nothing different though, because this thing.
Julie, let me tell you something. If he claimed to have a PhD in
I think she
and he cannot define culture, well, that says a lot.
all right.
It's a she. Went to prison.
Like here's the thing. I don't need a PhD. I don't need a PhD in history to learn history of different cultures. Of course. All colleges carry nonsense degrees that make you go in debt. So the thing about it is this, right? No, that is the truth. Plain talk, bad manners. So here's the thing. I adhere to a lot of history. No. So here's the thing. I learn history. I read history regularly. Like I love it. I also love reading about different cultures, right? But we have to be true about this thing. We can't want to put degeneracy as a label of culture. That's just disrespectful. That's the most disrespectful thing you can do to a group of people and want to claim such things. Like, let's be real about it, right? No, I never call you dumb. That's to tell you how it's crazy how you think I'm calling you dumb. I never said that. What I'm saying is this is I take high offense to when people talk about black people in this bigotry of low expectational type of way. Right? That we could rise no better. And
Yes, I did. I sent a request, so I think it might be because your profile is private, Miko, but I sent a friend request, so you could join.
It's like every time I go on Twitter, on Clubhouse, and I say, listen, you see what you're all engaging in as black people, that don't make sense. And people talking about, well, no, we could do this. And Africa, no, you wasn't thinking about Africa yesterday. You wasn't studying African history yesterday. You wasn't even studying African culture yesterday. It only comes up in the conversation when you want to do some low down, dirty, hoods nonsense. And I'm here like, this is ridiculous. Black women cooking on a slave castle in Ghana, a slave castle. Be for real. What is we saying? What is we doing? No. Twerking is degenerate behavior. Just like how I believe in Trinidad and Tobago context, wine at carnival is deplorable. It has nothing to do with carnival. And I say it regularly to Caribbean people that the whining have nothing to do with carnival culture. Like, that didn't start off like that. That's a modern thing. It's like ridiculous stuff going on. You understand? And when Caribbean people talk about, well, you could whine on people, man, and whine on people, husband and wife, and that's a normal thing. No.
Miko, they fighting your girl. They fighting your defense.
Crazy.
I added you, and they still tell it. I'm not seeing your name to come up. I don't know what's going on. I would like you to, because I know in messages, the defense, I am speechless. The man is against whining. I need to mind my business. I don't understand why that makes you speechless, though. Here's what I would like you to do, if you could, Miko, in the chat, if you feel obliged to do that. Define what is degenerate, because to me, that's where the miss is here. If you could define what is degenerate and what is culture, so then we could see by your definition if there is something that could possibly fit into the realm of degenerate. Because you could say that you're surprised someone sees something as degenerate, but then I don't know what your view of degenerate is.
It's some nebulous stuff going on there. It's some talk about respectability politics and black people do have to, you know, Nathan, respectability politics, liberal talking point, and love to do this bigotry of low expectation that black people will just run around like baboons out there with loin clothes and be dirty and nasty. And when I regularly say that, when did we come from that? So only white people created professionalism, only white people professional. So what black people is lazy, downright coot, chaotic, ridiculous. That's just disrespectful, on shadiness.
But here's the thing to me. Here's the part that I find interesting in a lot of this. It seems like many people, and it's not just any, are willing to debate anyone who doesn't disagree with them. I see. Well, Miko, either way, you wouldn't have been debating with them. We'd have been having a discussion. But I'm not seeing a way anyway, either way. But where was I? Yeah. Here's a part that I find curious in a lot of this, where some people make it seem like if your culture, in order for you to feel good about yourself now, your culture had to have some moment of ultimate cultural ascendancy. You know, the racist stereotype, we was kangs, that kind of thing. Okay, if in the history of your culture, your ancestry, there were never any people considered civilized. I'm not saying that is any group, but let's say you belong to some group where none of your ancestors ever lived in a organized town or city. Does that now mean that you, as their offspring, that you now must never live in anything civilized? Or at least the modern way of civilized? I must now return to the forests and live off of catching game and picking berries because that's where my ancestry came. Like, no. I think there's objectivity. There's objectivity. You could look and see that, okay, maybe there was a tribe one time where they encouraged a high level of promiscuity even among their children. Maybe they are my ancestors. Does that now mean that when I look at pedophilia, I am going to say, whoo, that's a good thing because some of my ancestors were okay with it? No, that does not add up to me. What your ancestry may or may not have done has no bearing to me on whether something is objectively good now. Culture can evolve and the majority decides how it evolves. I think that's 100% true, Little Miss Mediator. But to me, whether culture evolves or not, I think there are objective standards. So if I live in Trinidad and Tobago, and at the moment our culture has evolved to a point, I think at the moment our culture has evolved to a point where we see all citizens as by and large being equal, at least in the eyes of the law. But culture could evolve more, and maybe 20 years down the road, the culture evolves again, and there's some kind of racial supremacy in Trinidad and Tobago. The 750,000 Venezuelans that Gerard wanted to bring in, they come in and take over, and now they are the majority, and there's Jim Crow style laws, but that's the culture of the majority of Trinidad. I would think objectively that's a poor culture. It's a bad culture. Granted, it might be the prevailing culture, but that doesn't mean that it is a good thing. So is crime part of our culture? I would say criminality, not crime. Criminality is part of the general culture of Trinidad and Tobago. And I think so it's pretty obvious when you look at our licensing division, when you look at the fact that much of our official regulatory bodies are run on bribes of some sort. So, yeah, criminality is a part of our culture.
It is like people don't understand what culture is as well. Culture is yes, food, arts, music, but culture is also behaviors and norms. If you have your license division, have a behavior and norm, that's a culture. And if it's prevalent all over the place, like people make videos, you all come on TikTok to laugh at videos about people jumping into the driver's license test and had to bribe the official to pass the test, and they're laughing like, yes, I understand. Oh, that's a culture, I don't understand. Like to me, I don't understand why you all think that cultures evolve, cultures change, but at the end of the day, is progress or regress. People believe that once you go from 2023 to 2030 means that that's progression. That's not necessarily progression. Time is time. Things can regress. That society has done that many a times. Regression happens. So no, if because to me carnival has regressed. Let's take carnival for instance as a Trinidad and Tobago culture. I see less traditional carnival things today than I used to see 20 years ago. And when I say that, hear people, well, the thing evolve. I'm saying, well, now it's just this, it's just Batman music, and it's just this now, boy. And people I supposed to be like, yeah, I have separate, like just go along the drain because evolution. No, they're not humans just operate, guys. Like, what's funny? Because 20 years from now, when you'll have your children and carnival is just a chaotic spree of ancient neoclassical Greek nonsense, he all way boy, we should have stopped eating 20 years ago, boy. Didn't it was Gary Shea, And I go be here talking about, well, y'all look for that. Because y'all think evolution and progression is just forward in times. And that's ridiculous. What is that?
Right, Ronnie?
Agreed. Well, both have come very, very, very hard for the girl, I must say. I understand where she's coming from. But that was, but at the end of the day, the thing about culture, which is why I try very, 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 very hard to change my culture, and as Nathan said, the family that you create is your community. That is how I view it. I don't like being lumped into one group and one community. I don't really fancy communities either. No community. But then again, that's not particularly the best because being alone isn't the best either. Nathan, all you do was change the layout.
I know. I'm trying to work on it. Go ahead and talk, Nagil.
It distracted me. Sorry. You can't send her a guest request?
Nope.
Anyway. So back to us saying I guess where Trini who coming from with the sorry, who's that? Sorry. With the regression and stuff like that. But what I was looking at, and I've been looking at for a while, people keep talking about progress, right? And somebody would have, I don't know who it was, Jordan Peters, no whatever. I don't know. Was talking about progress being not the curve that was showing basically was the curve where it starts low, it gets high, and then comes back low, right? I can't remember what curve it was. But basically, that's what they say. That's what progress is. You reach to your peak, and then you start going back down. And I think that we have peaked, and we are on our way back down. Unfortunately, I think that we are going downhill a bit fast. Like what you have to do, because you're going downhill, you'll go faster. I definitely think we have reached the peak of where we have to be. And the only way we could get better, if we want to start climbing back up that mountain again, is if we start changing our culture. You have to change your culture. And only you can change your culture. You start doing it small. I do it again. My small circle, I encourage all of my female friends to encourage men. Don't be very promiscuous out there. Don't have men just around you. And be sort of being a baby mother or whatever. Be a wife. Look for good men. That's the culture I want to have around me. When I have my friends, those are the friends that I have, and those are the ideas that we have among each other.
So you promote cis heteronormative patriarchy to your friends. That's what you're saying. The cis heteronormative patriarchy is what you're endorsing to your friends.
The other day, I was on a live and I saw the person say, will not refer to you. If you find cis to be offensive, we will refer to you as homo gender.
What is that? What is that?
You are the same gender. That's the assigned, I guess.
You know, as we browse over that, certain things just continuously confuse me about that whole thing. The bond, as I regularly say, that the L and the G say that they're born that way, but then the T says there's no way to be born that way. But then I grew up in the 90s where they spoke about through the 90s and the 80s that there's no right way to be a girl or no right way to be a boy, that if a boy plays with a Barbie, he's still a boy. If a girl wears a pants and a cap backward, she's still a girl. I remember those were the lessons of the 80s and 90s. Now they're saying that, well, this male is actually a girl in gender. And how do you know that? Well, because the male wants to wear a dress. And I thought that it was taught to me back in the 90s that if a male wants to wear a dress, he's just a male who wants to wear a dress and nothing is wrong with that. But apparently now, dresses mean that you're a woman. Like, it's so insulting to women when you think about it. I saw this guy, Sam Smith, says he's non-binary now. You know, he's gender fluid. He goes from his masculine to his feminine. And when he's a feminine, he's just basically tutting. I know some people have a problem with saying degeneracy, but I mean an overweight, quarter naked man awkwardly doing provocative dances. I mean, if that's not your version of degeneracy, okay, I'd like to know what your version of degeneracy is. And then he says, when he does that, that's his female side coming out. Like, don't women find that based and insulting?
I think they do. I think they do for the most part. No. I think most women generally find it insulting. I think for the radical intersectional feminists, they think that's a great thing. But the misogyny in it all, when you round it up, it's so funny to me, right? Because you're always blaming heterosexual men for saying that women are just prostitutes and sexual objects. But a man who could claim to be non-binary could say femininity is being a slut and whore, and that's crazy to me. How we round it up into this big bag of a circle, that's crazy, right? Like, wow, that's madness.
It's so crazy where this thing is going, and a woman have themselves, and I think when I would align myself with, I can't hide. I think it's very sad when it's not a man, right? And all the women stand in the back and cheer. And the female captain of the US, I don't know, she's the captain, no, I can't remember. The US footballer like to say, well, if we don't allow trans women to play in this thing that they identify, we are basically saying that they aren't women. Yes, because they aren't women. And you know what's so funny? Here on a team that got beaten by 16-year-old boys and retired men. What are you saying? So what will happen now is you'll have underperforming men getting into sport. Because it's not no man that leaving the couch and coming into the sport that these women could beat. Because, okay, fine, a man who come off the couch, he might be able to swim as fast as a woman training her whole life. But if you get an underperforming man who has been training his whole life, he still can't perform with the best of men, and decides to become a woman, he will at least 90%
and
of the woman.
As I said, the sentiment behind this, the principle behind this, as we spoke about on Monday with Principle, the principle is extremely misogynistic. I don't use the word misogyny very often, but the principle is extremely misogynistic in the literal meaning of misogyny. Hating women or thinking of women as less. They're acting like women are weaker men. So when a man makes himself weaker, then he could perform good in the woman. You know, all a man needs to do to perform in a woman's competition is make himself weaker. No, that's not true. A woman is not a weaker man. Like as Nisi spoke about there are elements of being a woman that a man just would never get. I remember there was an interview about a year ago with Macy Gray, a singer from the 90s, and she went back on it like a coward. But the first thing she said was just so true. I think it was Piers Morgan was asking her about the whole trans nonsense, and her reply was they could dress how she wants, they could do what they want, but you won't be a woman because you'd never experience life as a girl, and being a girl is a vibe. That was the word she used. Being a girl was a vibe, and I understood what she meant. Like, as a man, as a boy, watching parallels of a girl's life growing up, there are certain things I just never had the opportunity to experience. I never will. I could never do it. And to think that because I chop off my business and peel it backward and give myself a permanent cut, that I have to stick something in to keep the cut open, that makes me into a woman? Somehow, that is supposed to translate to me waking up at 12 bleeding and not fully understanding, to my hips widening as I eat. Somehow me mutilating myself is supposed to mean that I am now at the same level as that. That is insane and insulting. Like, that's not what it is to be a woman. That is not. It is not. And you know why it's so misogynistic? Because you don't have the females fighting for male spaces, because it's impossible. The difference on that side is too obvious. But now you have a set of weak men trying to steal women's spaces because the difference is they feel like they could hide it. Listen, I saw Miko talk about post up and you can't tell. Listen, you always could tell. The ratios of a man is different. When I stand up, if I try to dress in a dress and I stand up with my hands up, you will never see a trans person with their hand at the side. You know why? Because men's hands and arms are too long. You would look like a gorilla of a woman. Your arms too long, brother. Your hands, look at your hand size to your face. Ask a woman to do the same thing. The hand is not the same. Listen, you will never, ever, ever be a woman. Never. It is not even remotely possible.
It's not.
And it's insulting and so misogynistic. It's ridiculous, really.
No, it's not because like hormone therapy doesn't 100% do anything. Like if hormone therapy was to even do 100% of everything, then trans people would never have to take it for the rest of their life. Like literally, guys. You understand?
The rest of their life?
Yeah, no. Literally, transgender people have to take the specific hormones, either testosterone or I mean, what you gonna say, Ronnie?
No. When I say that, I mean, they're like, they don't have that much chance. They have much that big chance. They have a lot of them change that.
But Ronnie, here's just now before you go there, Trini Hotep, and yes, I'm seeing the warnings, people, and I think I'm pretty dicey with my words. I'm not calling specifics, but yes, I'm careful. But on that note, even for people who detransition, almost surely they would still have to remain on hormones for the rest of their life, you know.
Yep.
The human body, like people try to make it seem like we are so advanced in medicine and technology, like we fully understand these things. We do not. And when you off balance those things, just stopping doesn't just revert you. It's not going to happen like that. So I think a lot of it is money making, because once you start, you're basically, once someone starts down that road, you assure a pharmaceutical company about $2 million for the rest of your life. Well, if you live that long. So for a pharmaceutical company, the monetary benefit is obvious. Miko says, I guess we all just lucky to identify with the gender we were assigned. Me and no. Listen, we were not assigned gender. And here's the thing, on the gender topic, Miko, you said you're a PhD in cultural history. I suppose you may have some knowledge of gender. I hope you could go back and find where the gender theory was established. Who established the gender theory? Dr. Alfred Kinsey, I believe, who was a notorious pedophile. And he was the one who established the idea that gender is separate from sex. Before him, gender was referred to in language, where there was gendered language. He determined that there's some difference in the societal level. And it was his paper that they are still using at the Alfred Kinsey Institute of Sexology, still using to determine that gender is a reality. So just bear in mind, gender isn't an established fact. It was a paper proposal proposed by a notorious pedophile, and it was promulgated further. The further proof of the reality of gender was compounded by one Dr. John Money. Do you know the John Money with the twin studies where he had twin boys from birth who he molested repeatedly, and both of them offed themselves? Both of them. And here's the thing. He said in his paper on those twins, that paper was used to establish that gender is actually fact. Because he said, he lied in his paper, that the boy he treated as a girl behaved like a girl in society. So that was to establish that gender is a socialized construct. Rubbish. So even when I give people the benefit of the doubt, speaking about gender and sex as if they are two different things, I have the understanding this comes from a fallacious point of view. In the first place, it's not true. The idea that somehow there's some separation of how we are socialized in our sex in our society. That's nonsense. People are socialized based upon their sexual characteristics, which make them male or female. They are tiny, extremely minuscule exceptions. The vast majority of humans are dimorphic sexual beings where you could obviously tell male from female. And yes, we socialize them differently because of that. Like to try and mince something there. No one assigned me male at birth. They observed me. Actually, they would have observed me male before birth. They observe it. They don't assign.
That's the thing, bro. And this is why that's the thing. I will regularly say this, bro. Like, people don't understand how this thing is. Socialization is just human nature, right?
Arel, that's why the stuff abductors and go to the cattle instead.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, socialization is just human nature. That's what it is, right? How we develop social institutions and constructs is based on a objective reality standpoint. We observe how males operate in a society, then we observe how females operate in society, and then we label it. That's how it works. So I would never believe in this gender is some nebulous concept and the fluidity of that. No. Especially when that certain community tells on themselves every day. Because the numerous amount of infinite genders they have, it's never nothing past feminine or masculine. It's always in that frame of mind, that framework. So the cake gender people who believe in identifying with cake, because there's cake gender, there's nothing to identify with cake other than cake.
And
it can be a cake.
The reality is, Miko, the existence of intersex people as a mutation actually proves the reality of the sexual binary. Because if you are intersex, what are you inter? You're inter. And that's a lie, Miko. You see, this two-spirit thing that they talk about with the natives, that's a wholesale lie. That's a whole... I could assure you, Miko, you go back to the natives and they would have been some of the most misogynistic, patriarchal people you ever met. Yes, there were some people on the spiritual fringes of society that did some things that didn't totally align with the expected social expectations. Yes, but they didn't believe that people were not man and woman. Listen, if you believe, I want to know, where do you get your basis for belief? If you believe that the basis for belief comes from evolution, then according to evolution, this is biology. Evolutionarily, Jesus Christ. Evolutionarily, we would have evolved our sexual reproduction over 100 million years ago. So, before humans were even primates, if you believe down the evolutionary line, before humans were primates, we would have had to have realized and understood who was a male, who was a female, be able to tell the difference and be able to find them. To try and say that at some point in time, a sexual reproducing dimorphic species somehow lost that ability, and we had civilizations that existed where, you know, no one knew who was male or female. They were just so fluid. That's ridiculous.
I don't know why this person call it my name, bro. I said nothing.
And Miko, dog, there were literally thousands of indigenous cultures. You can't generalize them. That, you know, there's a study of anthropology. The study of human anthropology is the generalization of human cultures. It studies generalizing cultures. So you literally can generalize indigenous cultures. There are generalizations about the life cycle of empires. And empires have spanned 10,000 years of human existence. And there are generalizations about the empires of the Sumerians that were from 8,000 plus years ago. And those same generalizations fit the empire of the Americans in modern day.
It's funny to me. Of course, we're learning, but we could also speak to objective reality. It seems to me like objective reality is some sort of far right-leaning sort of stuff. Like people love talking, because for the hell of me, I hate when people bring up indigenous cultures that wasn't European. So here comes the interjection of Africa and Native American peoples. And I'm here like, do you understand that even in Native American culture, which was matrilineal, that the men were very patriarchal. Matrilineal just means they go through women, which would be an easier concept for Native American people.
Because you could tell parentage through women, pretty sure.
Exactly. So hear me out. That two-spirit thing, and I study Native American culture a little bit, and I'm saying I do that. I think that Native American people did animism, which is very similar to Africans. Animism is talking about a soul in everything, and that's fine. We could believe that, but that doesn't speak to a nebulous, non-binary thinking of gender. That's ridiculous. No. If Ta'a Aki believes that the spirit of the eagle lives within me, that doesn't mean he is a woman. He's a dude. He's a grown man wearing his loincloth with his spear, getting ready to chuck it at the day to bring home to his family.
And
what are you talking about?
Miko, you say racist assumptions there, and I wouldn't doubt there are racist assumptions, but you see, there's a modern liberal mindset that believes that all races are supposed to be equal at everything, and any realization and observation that that is not true means it's racist, which it is not. Like, I mean, it is obvious to an onlooker. It is, I mean, everyone says, like, if you're talking human beings, the beginning of every field would be racist, because all humans were racist up until the 20th century. All humans were racist. Racism was the way we lived. We lived with our tribe. We had in-group favor to our tribe. Anybody doing anything before the 20th century was by and large racist. So saying that it's deeply racist isn't exactly a criticism. But to attempt to say that there are not obvious racial differences is incorrect. Like, the thing that frustrates me to no end is when I see people say that, okay, it's impossible for there to be racial differences in IQ, in studying, in behavior, in that. But then, why are there so many black people in NBA and winning so many athletic sports? Well, black, the black gene, we strong black people. Yeah. And wow, look at that. Look how old that black woman is. Look how old that black woman is, and she's looking young. Well, black don't crack. Black don't crack. So wait, you could accept racial genetic differences when it's in favor. But anytime you look at something that might be critical, all of a sudden it's racist?
Of course, because the white man who was measuring the head of an African said that his skull and cranium proves that he is unintelligent. And yes, that is racist, but that was for him to prop up his own group, which is fine. He gets to prop up his own group. You see, for you to disprove that would be to prop up your group as an African. That's the whole point. So anthropology is a study. Anthropology is a study that anybody could use to be racist. Anthropology is not inherently racist. The people who use anthropology are racist or could be racist. That's not how it works, guys. Because let me tell you something. There are plenty Afro-pessimists out there, Afro-centrists out there that are heavily in favor of centering only Africans, and they use heavily racist talking points.
Just now at Training Hotel, before what Miko says there goes too far, I don't know. I think it's a little ridiculous to fight down the gender people tell you they are. I don't see what the point is. Okay, so where does that stop? Where does it stop that I could tell you what I am and you must never fight me down? Where does that stop? And you don't see what the point is? Really? You don't see what the point is that you're adamant that a man cannot be a woman. Well, I would say the multiple women raped in prison by men who all of a sudden started identifying themselves as women, I would say those women would see the point pretty clearly. I would say that the woman who had a skull cracked by a subpar male fighter who all of a sudden identified as a woman and started doing MMA, I would say she might see the point. I would say that the numerous swimmers who lost out on athletic scholarships due to the male beating them in their swimming sport, the male who was ranked 200 and something the year before, I would say that they see the point. Like, what do you mean you don't see what the point is? And this is all on the side of trying to find an actual societal reality on it. Here's the other point, Tate. You don't get to dictate to me that I should lie. If I see you wearing a red jersey, you don't get to tell me it's a black jersey and I must say it's black. You don't get to dictate to me what reality is. So just as you say, you find it ridiculous to fight down the gender somebody tells you they are, I find it ridiculous for somebody to tell me a gender that they are not. I find that just as ridiculous. For you, as a big, hairy, low-voiced man, to tell me, I's a woman and a boy. Actually, it's ma'am. It's ma'am. It's ma'am. I find that much more ridiculous. Very ridiculous.
Well, let me
Since when all you care about women's sports, I find this a little wild. Miko, that's so dishonest. You have no idea about anything about me to say it's wild that I care about women's sports. This is literally, and I know this because I see way too much of it. I could probably forecast every last sentence you're going to say next. This is the same word for word fight that every one of these progressives talk about. Why you question this, and when you show them why you question it, why you care. Wait, you just asked why I question it. And then if I say why I care, you'll say that, well, it's so small anyway. And then, well, there's always unfairness in sports, you know. Well, you know that Michael Phelps, he had a longer wingspan, so he had an unfair oh gosh, ease me up. The reason there were women's sports is not because some people wore dresses. The reason we separated male sports from women's sports wasn't because some people decide to wear dresses sometimes. No, it was because there's a physical difference between men and women. And we wanted women to have the opportunity to excel and gain the benefits that there are in sport. I mean, but the scientists explain all this about bone death. Which scientists? What are you talking about, Miko? Miko, I thought you just said you didn't know about this. How do you know that the scientists explained it?
I would like to
Wow, Miko, you're going through all. Wait. Actually, many women's sports were created because women would beat men, like long distance running. She is talking about the one little feminist video she saw about some sports back in World War II when the men went. And anybody, can anyone tell me why would women's sports blossom during the 1940s? Does anyone know? 20 points. She studied cultural history and has a PhD in it, so I would suppose Miko would understand this. Why would women's sports blossom in the 1940s? And why were women winning all the sports in the 1940s? And this isn't something that's difficult to check. If you think that women are faster than men at long distance running, check the records.
Okay, just now, let me interject here. Because I am a woman, so I should therefore say what I have to say on this point, and it should never be questioned because I have the gain in this, right?
Maybe I identify as a woman, Rooney.
I don't care.
I also identify as a woman.
I think we have to be very careful, right? I think a lot in one be kind to everybody and in wanting to give everybody that voice and to give everybody that space that they want. We have to be careful that we don't in doing it, right? Whenever you, and I've seen it plenty times, when you have that conversation with trans people and say, like, don't you want your own bathroom? I don't want my own bathroom because out in me. But you literally have a bed. But when you say you want your own sport, no. When you say you want to remove gender off of all sports, if women and men are so much the same, why is it a woman that would this in an Olympic sport, like let's say running, even qualify for the finals, then
she wouldn't qualify for the heats.
But, she wouldn't qualify, right? She wouldn't reach. If we decide, you know what, here's what we're going to remove gender off of sports, you would realize that women will not make any sport again. The reason why women's sports are not viewed or are not entertained as much because the women can't do what the men do. In basketball, they can't dunk like the men. They're not as aggressive as the men. When you watch, I love basketball, but watching WNBA is pulling and nail and drawing blood and everything at the same damn time.
It's a little hard to watch.
I watch the men's football. It is absolutely. There's a reason for that. They can't do the men do, right? So I think we need to stop being nice in this. Well, I don't want to offend anybody. Because now we are running the risk of offending a lot more people. So the small people, ask Bud Light. But like to appease a small group and not the whole base.
Jaron,
Stop
it, eh? Jaron, stop it about women volleyball. Behave yourself.
Oh my gosh, not to mention, you saw the video with the women volleyball where they had the transgender woman.
Let me know it. I never saw it. No, I never saw it. I good. I'm real good. I'm good, thank you. Miko, I good. I don't want to find it. Miko says, I don't know. Isn't it also just unkind to not allow people to be who they want to be? Well, here's the thing. One, people could be who they want to be, but you don't have a right to dictate that everybody sees you as you see yourself. You could see yourself as the most beautiful person on earth, but you do not have the right to dictate that everybody must also see you like that. That's not how reality works. That's not what happens. You do not choose your pronouns. That's not how language works. You do not choose your pronouns. You choose your noun. You could change your name. Listen, you could change your name to just about anything, legally even. But pronouns are not used by you. Pronouns are a language artifact created by society to understand people, so that society, when I tell Hotep, he has a picture in his mind. But you trying to dictate that I must use the language you tell me to use, you are an authoritarian. You do not have that right. You do not have that permission. I choose my language. You could choose to wear a dress. You could choose to wear heels. You could, as an adult, you could choose to mutilate yourself if you want. You do not get to choose my words. And it's not unkind for me to tell you that you do not get to choose my words. I find it bold-faced for you to watch me and tell me you get to choose my words. You're rather bold-faced.
No, it's really bordering on the man with a mustache type behavior. You understand what I'm saying? Where the majority of people should accept the minority things because oppression, discrimination, whatever they want to do. It's so funny to me that we must accept 0.01% of a population of people. We must accept on a mass scale what they want to implement, what they want to do. Is that not bordering on a little Nazism?
Here now, Miko, on a real, I think you sound like you are in a very American progressive bubble, because nearly every reply you give sounds like I am hearing it from the Young Turks or some kind of American progressive YouTube. It literally sounds verbatim. No, they did not only give 2 cans, it was a promotion. You don't understand why everyone lost their mind, because a man who is pretending to be a woman, flaunting around in high heels, saying, oh, I'm going hiking, I'm tripping. That's his impression of woman. Listen, if anyone did that about any other group and mocked them as such, you would understand clearly. And then this man went out and got the most intimate female product and was talking about, I don't know how to use this. What? And you don't understand why people would find it disrespectful? And then this man, his main audience, you could check it on TikTok, with children under 21. In the US, their drinking age is 21 and older. So why would a beer company target this individual to do their promotion? Also to that, beers are majority drunk probably by middle-aged men. If you are looking to encourage middle-aged men to drink this, and your promotion is, I am a man, and when I drink this beer, I act more like a woman, who do you expect to want to drink your beer after that? It's a horrible promotion. You're alienating your target audience. I mean, maybe if it's a product that Miko enjoyed, I assure Miko is not a Bud Light drinker. Whatever is a product that you enjoy, Miko, that would be a product that would make sense for them to go and get him to do their promotions. But for anyone else, it doesn't work like that.
Okay, let me just say something. People are in their right not to give money to businesses that don't align with their maybe ideals, beliefs, or whatever, right? Two, let's say a woman lost her job because of it, and she lost her job because she didn't what she was. She lost her job because she was not doing her job. In all honesty, if you know your audience, you target your audience. You don't go and look for your audience and offend your audience at the same time. But just now, I'll just finish with this. When this whole Dylan movie come out, right? Dylan movie came out, I think, the whole film is coming up. Anyway, he came out and said, I am a trans girl. I am a girl. He said that. I am a girl because I didn't go through. I'm not a woman. It's not a woman. Yes, whatever. if you are buying into what Dylan said, if this he was buying into what Dylan said, and he said, yes, we believe that you are trans, then you also give alcohol to underage person because Dylan was guilt. Then last one, thanks was the other Dylan said you see people would not have mind. But like the give Caitlyn Jenner the thing to do. But he would not be vexed, right? I mean, of course, one of the conservatives might be upset, but Caitlyn Jenner is a sports person. They gave Dylan Mulvaney that ad to do during March Madness. Dylan Mulvaney said, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what sport this is, but I have this can on here, on that thing, blah, 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 blah. That was totally offensive. They should have, even if you wanted to give a trans person it because you want to say, oh, well, we're so inclusive, a trans person that could talk on the point that you want them to talk on because they wanted her or him to talk on March Madness. And that is all.
No, but here's the thing. No. Nathan, Miko already exposed what it is. We are black conservatives that we only get to talk because we are black conservatives. Here's what I'm saying, right? That's fine. Label me a black conservative if you want. I'm very conservative. I'm a libertarian. I am center right of this whole thing. And that's the, oh God, yes, this are conservative. Well, the only people that bash conservatives are progressive people, are liberals. So it's definitely not people who are center of the argument, and not classical liberals either, because classical liberals are very much conservative people. So the thing about it is this. It's the same way how women got mad that Dylan Mulvaney was taken up by a makeup company. It's why women get mad at certain things that are geared towards women. You know what's funny? I'm not squeamish against period products necessarily. It's natural, but I'm squeamish at going to buy it because that's not for me. Me walking inside the feminine hygiene section going to make me look crazy and weird for buying it. So no. I find it highly disrespectful that a man is buying tampons and pull it out in the middle of the road talking about I feel for the women who wear tampons and talking about where is it supposed to go. That's disrespectful. That's highly disrespectful. Pull it out and play with it. That's real disrespectful shit. Like, is women not supposed to get mad at that? What? There's women in Africa right now that can't afford not a single hygiene product. Here is men in America talking about, I feel good.
I think personally, and this is especially because there was no discussion. All right, I think personally, Miko, the reason I would say I think you're on that liberal, as you call it, squawk box, is because almost all of your replies sound like the verbatim reply that I am sure I could go on Twitter and copy and paste all of those replies. You could go do it. I am on Twitter. Go find me, Nathan Springer. When you find me, I could go and copy and paste all those replies, literally verbatim what you said. So it seems like you're parroting something. And that's not what I'm saying, Miko. That's not what I'm saying actually. I am not insulting you. I'm not trying to insult you. I am saying that it looks like you're coming from a direction that has been clearly outlined, and that's the direction you're coming from. And you say that it sounds like a conservative echo loop. Maybe it does. I don't think it is. I think my views, generally speaking, are views I have thought out. While it seems like a few of the views that you said a conclusion at the beginning only for your next comment to be that I haven't really seen too much of the issue. So at the start of this, you said you didn't see what the point is, you don't get why people are doing this, and now you're basically saying that, I didn't really know much about this. But it seemed like you had an established conclusion at the beginning. So for me, if you introduce me to something and I don't know about it, I won't have a conclusion. I would have to find out about it first before I draw a conclusion. But it seems like some of these issues, there is a conclusion on the default before you even know all of the facts involved. That's why I am saying that I think you're coming from that kind of point of view. That's exactly what I meant. I didn't understand why it's a big deal because I am still learning and I don't know. Okay, granted, I understand what you mean in that case. Understood. Understood like that. To me, I find a lot of this to be gaslighting. And I've listened there are many now gay organizations that are trying to pull apart this whole LGBTQIA2P plus group, saying that it's not a community in the first place. And I've heard some gay people say it too. I was listening to today, two old British a homo and lesbian discussing this very topic, and they were saying that in the very beginning the L and the G weren't exactly together in the first place. They weren't exactly a community in the first place, and then the B isn't exactly a community either. So there are these discussions all over, and I think a lot of it, when you see and you discuss the logic behind this and you recognize that many of the people that are saying certain things with confidence at a conclusion level, recognize they haven't even fully thought this through. Like, I don't think it's rude to say reality. I don't think that's rude. If you are a dude and you want somebody to not call you a dude, okay, that's what you want, but it's not rude for someone to refer to you as you are. Like, that's not rude.
Yeah, you see, I am a clear-cut person, man. This is me, man. When I realize you taking copy and paste talking points from liberal media outlets and liberal spaces, yes, I'm going to call into question a little bit of how you think. That's just the truth of it, right? Coming to feel you could try to debate me and talk through thing and then feel you go, tell me I calling you dumb. It's ridiculous. I'm a well thought out person. I have critically and analyzed this whole thing. When you come here with basic run of the mill talking points, yeah, I'm calling to question a lot of what you're talking about.
Miko,
be free.
I just said I didn't call you stupid. I don't think you're stupid. I don't know about the PhD in cultural history and all. I just don't know. But I don't necessarily think you're stupid. The thing is, there are many people who are extremely liberal, extremely progressive, and they are by no means stupid. Stupid isn't necessary to have a belief. Stupid isn't necessary to have an ideology. Even if I think the far extremes of progressivism, I think it's cult-like. I honestly think it's cult-like. But cults don't only have stupid people. That's a lie. Some people call Scientology. You don't want to say that. You don't want to say that word too loud. Those guys are very serious. They get very serious. But the theology with Mr. Cruz and that's a cult. But there are many very intelligent people in that cult too. So I am not saying you are stupid. That is not the direction I am saying. I don't know, maybe Hotep might be. Hotep doesn't speak on behalf of the Mindful Live show. If you could have come in, you could have joined just like Trini Hotep. He could call you stupid on his own if that's what he's saying.
I am not calling this woman a dummy. That's the funny thing is.
But that's the thing, right? There's nobody. I think that just thing give a point where you ask a question or whatever, and then in the thing of it, it is shown to be a kind of not well thought out or not very intellectual type. So it's not that you're stupid. If you come up here and I say, dances and shivers. I am stupid because some people anytime something just to hear whatever emotions are being that's what I think this is where the gaslighting comes in. I see a gaslighter. I may not be gaslighting. I see a gaslighter, right? And when I say gaslighting, because you came and you put forward a case, and when the answer comes is, well, I didn't Don't you don't like me? Because you have the rebuttal of the rebuttal, so it's like, that's gaslighting. It's not gaslighting. Well, how long am I saying it's not gaslighting? Because, I mean, come on, if you believe, and listen, I'm not just going to this is what I know. If that's a man and a woman, exchange for you, if you don't have a problem, I assume that you live in, if you can hear me, I assume that you live in America, right? Because a lot of talk so much for men to be, not yet. I assume that you live in America, right? So you want talking points out of America, right? And soon and very soon we'll have men under the guise of transfer come into your bathroom to masturbate. Understand? And I don't know how much comfort you'll find in that. But as you, I want to know that. I don't care if you're transgender, I don't care if I don't care anything, I don't. The only man that I would have taken in my bathroom is a passing man. Like a woman, I'm in the bathroom, no problem. But see them man and them man and them shoulders, toe, and playing it on. Start doing even trying. One in the bathroom. One in the main bathroom. And start single you bathroom. And unisex bathroom, single. Don't come and use my bathroom. My daughter. And you do. And enough. Goodness gracious.
Right.
Yo, Jared says she identifies non-functional. That's funny, bro. That's funny, bro.
But Miko, what you're saying there is why people have a problem with it, like you were asking why people have a problem with that. Many women, and that's why it's strange to me the amount of feminists that on the side of the T. Many women, a lot of the feminist movement was kind of about getting away from these horrible, disgusting, misogynistic pig men. And now all a man needs to do is put on a dress. And then that's his secret get out of jail free. Like, nah, bro. I don't believe that. I can't just go with that one. It doesn't really add up to me like that. It doesn't add up to me like that.
Yo, listen. Yeah, listen.
Anyway, everyone, you could give your closing statements there, Hotep, so we could give it a close for the night. Good night, Carrykins.
Yeah, I feel like I had a trademark this Nathan, bro. Yeah, be mindful, not mindless. Just keep it. Just keep it in order, man. And when you come into debate, come to debate properly. Don't come to debate.
To be fair to Miko didn't get in on the inside, eh? Probably if Miko had get in on the inside, all of we was done. Probably.
Yeah, that's true. But don't come from Instagram to TikTok to grand charge and don't step in the box. That's craziness. But anyway, yeah, be mindful, not mindless. Yeah, Ronnie was good.
Miko, what is that? No, Miko, come back, please. The diversity is our strength, and I prefer real diversity of thought. And I like, if you think I'm talking nonsense, you could tell me you think I'm talking nonsense. You won't be the first person in the chat to do so. I just.
She said in the earlies you're talking nonsense. She said
yes.
In the earlies we was talking nonsense.
We like a vigorous debate here. You know, someday I was just recollecting it. Like, wait now, I really tell Gerard to shut up someday, boy. What day that was?
Yes.
He really had reached to the level, and I'm like, Gerard, boy, just shut up. Miko, I have not told you to shut up. So you aren't even close on that level yet. And as I always tell people, none of y'all are even close to the licking of the mindful bubbly that has been Rhea. No one get it kind of licks as Rhea got. So yeah, Rooney.
Therefore, you are misogynistic because you didn't tell her to shut up. Anyway, wow, tonight was weird, boy. I don't even know what to comment on tonight. But nobody else here. Anyway, so like what I say, be mindful. I want to people, men, women, black people, Indian people, Trinidad people, everybody, please be mindful of your culture and don't just claim culture because it is your past, but also look into how you can better your culture. I think that's what we're talking about. That's why your culture and your community, and eventually, as I said before, and I say time and time again, we can improve little by little.
Word.
Yes, Miko, please come back because we love disagreement. Yeah.
You don't know my views about Rowley. You really don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, eh? I think that's why I won't agree that I'm in a conservative echo loop, because I do think that in probably the vast majority of things I'm conservative, because I think a practical outlook on life is conservatism. Conservatism means we use what we know already and we stay within the bounds of what we know and slowly explore outside. So I think that's the most practical, sensible type of living. And I think there's a reason that young people are predominantly on that progressive side, because sometimes they haven't seen as many of the risks. They are in overly trying to reinvent the wheel sometimes. And sometimes that's because progressivism could only really survive within the bounds of conservatism. Someone has to be conserving your society in the functional state for you to go experimenting with these further things. That's why I don't think I'm in a conservative echo loop like that. I think if you bring up a point and you have a good point, I would listen, and that's what we tend to do. That's why I'm pretty certain that if you were to assume my views on a wide range of things, you may be wrong. But yeah, Miko, it was nice. And everyone, it was nice as usual. With the Mindful Life Thursday talk session, we went till after 12 as we tend to do something. Yeah.
I was typing a comment I want to send.
No, I ain't closing it yet. You don't worry, you'll get to send your comment in the chat. Yeah. So I hope you guys were educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live session. Mindful Live 2, what today was? 233 or 232? 233, I think. We're moving very far, yo. Lots of lives. Be sure to subscribe over there on YouTube. I'm closing in on the 1,000 mark. I have about 30 more to reach, to be about no, not 30 more, about 40 more before 1,000. So head over to YouTube, subscribe to Nathan Springer over there, and I will see you guys in the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow evening around that 9:30 p.m. time. As I said, I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you guys in the next one. Miko, don't take it personal, sis. We talking.